Hello, this is Brian with the Precision Marksman channel, and this is the AR version. I also have a bolt action version, but to keep it simple, I wanted to have one for each. And today we're going to be focusing on the 6 ARC. It's kind of quickly becoming one of my favorite ARs. Of course, you got to love the 223, but what I love about the 6 ARC is its ability to shoot bigger bullets for long range shooting, and then also I also load copper bullets for what I call mid-range, big game hunting if you need to use them. Most of my experience has been with a 16-inch barrel, but I have a friend that lives near me, and we have an 18 and a 22-inch barrel that I can test. So it gives me the ability to test a bunch of different components, a bunch of different barrel lengths. And if you look at this folder, this is all individual targets. So that's a lot of testing that went into this data. So I'm going to focus right now on the big bullets, and we're going to focus on the powders that I find is the best. I'm not going to go into options that are like, maybe this powder is good. This is what I found that works the best. And also in my online research, it's some of the stuff that I've seen is the best. So we'll go down with the target bullets. Some of these you can use for hunting. Some guys prefer the coppers, but a lot of guys like target bullets. My favorite bullet right now is probably the 105 Berger hybrid target. We were just out shooting it the other day. At one of the gongs, it was 985 yards. Cold bore, and the next 2 shots both hit it at a 10 or 12 inch gong. Exceptionally good, and I've taken that out to 1,200 yards on targets and no wind. But I'd say if you have wind, I would keep it to about 1,000 yards or less. Another bullet that's really good, I have a lot of experience shooting that in my 6 Creedmoor, is a 107 Sierra Match King. Very similar BC, very good bullet. But the O guide between these two, this bullet is more consistent. The Bergers from day in and day out, I find that if you measure all the bullets, they're more consistent. But I really like Sierra bullets too. The Hornady boat tail is not near as aggressive. It has a lower BC, but this is the bullet that Hornady loads for their 105 black and the 6 ARC. Then you got the 108 Hornady ELD match. Of these 3, if I had to shoot one in a factory load, I would probably go with the match. But they're all good. And then the 103 ELDX is what a lot of guys use for hunting. And most of these, I'm going to go over the powders next, and I'm going to talk about the powder weight charges. I found that the 2 best powders, if you want to shoot targets mainly, and you want to shoot the bigger bullets, the 105s, the 108s, Varget. And that's what I put down for targets, a target powder. Leverevolution, in my opinion, is a better hunting powder. It's easier to reload, it's faster, even though you're about 2 grains difference between the powder. This one doesn't compress as much. When you're loading the bullets, when I switch from Leverevolution to Varget, I have to take the die and turn it down 10 thousandths when I go to Varget because it has a little bit of compression and it pushes back against the bullet. CFE 223 also works, but in general I prefer Leverevolution and Varget. And these are the powder ranges that I had the most luck with, between 29 and 30.1. This is not a starting load. These are all fairly warm loads. The 27.5 to 28.1, those are all excellent loads in my opinion. Kind of like buyer beware, use at your own risk, but that's the range that I use for these different bullets. As far as the primers go, I probably use CCI 450s the most. BR4s are also good. And then Federal 205 match or match ARs are also good. But these are the 2 that I normally load. So let's say I've loaded over 1,000 rounds between myself and my friends, maybe more. Those are the ones I typically load. Now, for people that are copper bullet fans, there's 3 bullets that I really recommend that I have lots of experience with. Before Lost River Ballistics, but not Lost River, but Badlands Ballistics, out of Badlands Precision out of South Dakota, before they're no longer in business, I used them. And now I use the McGuire. 93 McGuire is excellent bullet. The 90 grain Hornady CX, this is also a boat tail, tipped. And then the 95 grain Barnes LRX. And those are pretty much Leverevolution across the board, and that 30 to 31.5 grains. Mostly, we started out, we didn't have any options. We had to start out with Hornady cases. Originally, to get brass, we had to shoot hundreds of rounds of Hornady. I actually took 400 rounds myself from about 800 and sorted them by weight because the weights vary a bit. And then Starline started coming out, and I kind of started going with Starline. Alpha recently came out. It's definitely the premium brass of here. It's similar in quality, I'd say, to like Lapua. Really, really good quality, but I haven't used any yet. So far, I've been happy with these. I haven't had a weight sorting. The Starlines are close enough for what I'm doing. The Hornady, because I combined with a bunch of different lots from different, I had to weight sort those. Those varied a lot, up to like 10 grains. I sorted them to about 1 grain. So when you're looking at velocity, the Berger with the Leverevolution in my 16-inch barrel is on average 2,600, and an 18-inch barrel on average is 2,700, and then a 22-inch barrel on average is 2,800. If you go to Varget, which is about exactly 2 grains less between these two, it's 2540, 2640, 2740. And the overall length, I try and hit in that between 2.285 or 2.290. So typically when you're loading an AR, you're not tuning the bullet like a long VLD bullet like this. You're not tuning it by seating depth. Like if you had a target or hunting bolt action, you could tune it more by the length. I kind of go with the maximum length, which is 2.30 is what they list. I don't like that long. I don't like more than 2.290. So I try and keep everything, and the tips will vary, probably between about 2.285 and about 2.292 with the hybrid target. And you'll notice again, the feet per second is about 60 feet per second across the board here. When you go to the 95 Barnes, I have not shot some of these hunting bullets in the 18 and 22 inch barrels, but you'll see the velocities around 2750. We've shot that in 3 different guns. The 103 ELDX, which is a very common factory load, it is 2600. If you go down to the factory load, it's about 2510 to 2520. So these are a little bit hotter. I'm not loading them crazy hot, but I'm going to say, let's say that the factory load's like 50, 52,000 PSI. Maybe I'm at 55, 56,000 PSI. And we're a bolt gun, some of the guys will take them up to 65,000. And then you got the CX, Leverevolution, 2,800 feet per second. And then again, the factory loads. One of the interesting bullets is a Hornady, I call it the black bullet, the same one that's up here. You have to be careful not to load it too long. If you load it longer than, if you loaded it this long, it would be into the lands. So that's why all these right here I've measured. I have a Hornady comparator gauge, and I use that to make sure that none of the bullets, I like to jump the bullets. In an AR, you have to jump bullets. Now if you did shoot a really, what I call abrupt type bullet, like a VMAX or something, and you seated it long, you could get to the point where you could be into the rifling. So you still got to check. But all these overall lengths, from anywhere from 2.290 all the way down to 2.190, were very accurate, and we've had great success with those. But again, that Hornady black bullet, which is this one right here, it is a whole 100,000 shorter than your Berger hybrid target, which is my favorite right now. The other thing is when you're dealing with magazines, there's pretty much just 2 magazines I focus on, and that would be the duramag and the geissele mag. Those are my favorites. A couple other tricks when you're loading. If you're just taking factory new brass, I run it through a mandrel, and before I mandrel it, I lube all the cases with. I use a little Q-tip or a little device like this, and I use Imperial dry neck lube. So you lube them, run them in here, and then that puts about a perfect 2000s neck tension. And that's really important when you're loading. This is a Hornady gauge. I also have some from Short Action Customs. If you take one of these bullets and you can run the gauge this way, you get the overall length. This one right here is 2.29115, and that's one of the longer ones. And I flip it around, and now I got the same with the same device. I got my base to O-guide, which is 1.685, which is what I've written down in the books, which is on my load data sheet here. And I just want to make sure that's, because that is the most accurate. Your O-guide, as long as you're within this distance here that's shorter than that, you want to make sure that O-guide is consistent. And the other thing I like about the Leverevolution is that the seating depth, anytime you have zero powder compression or just touching, the seating depth is more consistent. If you have more powder compression, the seating depth can change, and sometimes I actually seat the bullet twice. So in a nutshell, those are my 2 favorite powders. This is my favorite bullet. These are all excellent hunting bullets. And this is my reloading setup, and we'll do another video in the future showing some of the shooting. But right now, this is just in the office, in the reloading office, I call it. And thank you for watching.